Okay, we are live on this incredibly unprecedented day. Uh, I don't even know what to think. I mean, I find myself saying this all the time now, Ian.
Yeah.
It's, how do I put it? Shocking, but not surprising.
Yeah, I think I agree entirely. I put a tweet out or a post out on X right before we went on, actually right before the verdict was read, saying, I just have this sneaky feeling that Trump is going to be found guilty. Now, my thought was it wasn't going to be on all counts. But the point was, I thought he was going to be found guilty because we saw some interesting things going on with the Biden administration and their marketing in the last couple of days, and that had to do with this whole. And I'm be really kind of broad because I don't want to get us demonetized. But they were saying that Donald Trump had said a very bad word and used clips in the past to demonstrate that. They were doing press conferences 2 days ago about this potential verdict. And it really led me to believe that they're trying to do a marketing campaign to just paint this guy as a convicted felon. I don't even think they care about the sentence because, we don't know what's going to happen with the sentence. But convicted felon, that's something that sticks.
Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, Mark and I on Americans Untold, I mean, we've been saying for a while he was going to get found guilty.
Really?
There's no way. I mean, well, look where it is. They managed to place it in the one borough where everybody hates him. If this isn't Queens, he'd be fine. If it was Staten Island, he'd be fine. If he is in any of the other boroughs, but no, he's in Manhattan. And to make things even worse, he made sure the trial ran on Fridays. So the one group in Manhattan that supports Trump, the Orthodox Jews, well, guess what? They can't participate either.
Nope.
So, I mean, this is incredible. Ben Dober coming in. Yeah, what is he found guilty of? All 34 counts. But then, you know what? Why go with 3, 4? Why not? If you're going to lie about it, why not all 34?
I guess so. What's up, Phil?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for inviting me in here. I've got a few minutes before I'm headed to the baseball game. Of course, this is a great day to celebrate at the Braves game. Look, I'll just give you real quick my initial thoughts on this. I'm told that there's really no, and please correct me if I get this wrong, but I'm told that there's very little, if anything, in the nature of an appeal bond in New York that would operate to basically stay or suspend any kind of sentencing that may occur. And so theoretically, it's possible that, assuming he doesn't put Trump in jail, it's possible that Juan Merchan is going to control the liberty and the movements and the freedom of Donald Trump for the foreseeable future. It's kind of remarkable.
Yeah, I'm sure he's really brokenhearted about that too.
Well, I mean, he's relishing in this moment, no doubt, because look, he gets to control. Look, assuming he doesn't throw him in jail, does he put him on house arrest? Does he put him on conditions of release? Does he allow him does he give him probation? If you're on probation, you're normally not allowed to leave the state without permission.
From a probation.
How do you do that to a candidate? Or what if he wins? Okay, and he's on probation. Are you going to tell the president he can't go to the G8 summit or he can't travel internationally? I mean, we are truly in uncharted territory here. Who knows where this is going to go?
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Do you guys know the law on it? Do you actually think this is a legitimate sentence? I mean, yes, the jury did vote against it, but I mean, there's so many problems with all the charges, Cohen, the liar, everything else. I mean, I don't know. I feel like this can get flipped pretty easily on appeal. I mean, what about the jury instruction about, how do you put it? Essentially a math equation. Like, if 4 of you were to say he's guilty here, 4 of you were to say he's guilty there, 4 there, you know what? We'll just add them together. Hey, that's unanimous. I mean, how can that hold up?
Ian, you can go first.
Yeah, well, thank you, Phil. I appreciate it. I don't think it's going to hold up. But again, I think we got to remember what the purpose was of this prosecution. It has nothing to do with the fact that it's going to be upheld in appeal. There's going to be a motion for judgment notwithstanding verdict. There's going to be lots of attacks to it. We don't know what's going to happen on sentencing. It could very well be with a clean record that and also we don't know exactly what technically at the end of the day, which is going to be misdemeanors, which are going to be felonies. So we don't know, but I think the biggest point that we can take from this is that now something has changed in America, and that is now the people in power will criminally prosecute the people outside of power. And it's a cooling of our society. Before we were really loath to represent our country because we were worried about getting canceled. Nowadays, people are not going to want to put their neck out there because they're worried about going to jail. Yeah. So I don't even care if you don't like Donald Trump and you think he's a bad man and should be prosecuted, whatever it is. Something has changed today, and it's scary in America right now.
Well, I think that I don't see that Merchan is not going to impose some kind of sentence, although that's technically possible. I think he's going to impose some kind of sentence, and so we're going to appeal it. I think he's definitely I don't see. Well, again, we're talking about the New York courts here, but look, they did reverse Weinstein recently because the judge created a trial that was just so over the top unfair that it violated due process. I think that jury instruction, Eric, that you talked about, where the jury did not have to be unanimous on one of the essential elements of the offense, specifically what was this other crime. He let them pick and choose from like a smorgasbord menu of whatever they wanted to pick and choose from. But so you wind up having the judge creating a criminal charge and establishing an element of a criminal charge that was never voted on by a grand jury. So in other words, the very essence and nature of the crime that the judge sent them to deliberate on was not what the grand jury indicted. So that's going to be a big problem on appeal. I don't see how it could stand up if the appeals courts are intellectually honest. But in any event, that's years away. I mean, it took 2 or 3 years for Weinstein to get reversed. You got to get the record. You got to get all the testimony. You got to get everything bundled up and sent to the Court of Appeals, and then you got to wait years for them to rule on it. So the election is going to be come and gone long before we find out what an appeals court is going to do. So in the meantime, it raises the real question: do you have Juan Merchan saying, "Look, Mr. Former President, or should he be elected again, Mr. President, you cannot travel outside the continental United States, or you can't travel outside the state of New York"? I mean, are we going to have this kind of battle between the power of a state court versus the powers that come with the presidency? It's going to be, we are in truly unusual and uncharted territory here. Interesting legal times ahead.
Norm, or obviously talking about this little known case that happened with
something happened today. Yeah.
Yeah. I was wondering if you had any thoughts about it.
I expected guilty verdicts on the misdemeanor counts. It was an open question in my mind on the felony counts. I mean, it's clear that from the elements categorizing payment of hush money as a retainer or legal fees, that's just bad accounting and probably fraudulent. Whether that amounts to felonious conduct done in support of breaking other laws, I understand New York doesn't have specific unanimity as to that factor. I don't know if there was a jury interrogatory or a form. So I was a little surprised by that. I thought it would be guilty all the way on the misdemeanors, and I had my doubts about the felonies.
What do you think about the jury instruction you just joined? But the whole, if say 4 of you say he's guilty on one and 4 more of you say he's guilty on another, 4 more, well, I'll just take that as unanimous.
Well, that's the specific unanimity issue, and it's very troubling across the states in many areas of criminal practice. Usually when it goes to the elements of an offense, the state has to be unanimous. If it goes to an aggravating factor or an affirmative defense, it may not have to be. My understanding, and I'd be paying close attention to this if I were on Trump's appellate team, is that the felony counts required proof of an intent to break another law, and I think that law should have been unanimous. So I think because that goes to an element of the offense, specific unanimity was required, and I expect to see that front and center on appeal. The other issue that I think is very promising for appeal is when Merchan sent one of Trump's the jury and the public out of the room to admonish one of Trump's witnesses late in the game. You just can't throw the public out of the courtroom and not violate the Sixth Amendment. That may be reversible error per se. So I see plenty of good and decent appellate issues in this case, but I can't say I'm surprised by the verdict. I think he did engage in fraud, candidly.
Wow. Okay. I'm
All right. Well, I got to run, guys, but I did want to just say thanks for letting me hop in and at least get a word in. And good luck the rest of the show. I see some interesting comments on here. That we're going to be digesting this for weeks or years to come.
yeah. I mean, for sure. But yeah, thanks for jumping in, Phil. And another question for Ian, Norm, both of you. The judge apparently sent an odd little metaphor to the jury about something like, just because you didn't see it rain last night, and I'm kind of paraphrasing from what I understand, but just because you didn't see it rain last night, but you notice it's wet on the ground in the morning, well, then you can say that it rained.
Yeah, that in my opinion, that's completely improper. To be honest, I am not a licensed attorney in New York State, so I don't have an exact understanding of what the inference. He's referring to inferences the jury can make, but at least in California, that's improper. It's almost like a wink, wink, nod, nod. And I think that, again, another ground for reversible error. The only problem is that we keep talking about how wrong the prosecution was, but we really don't talk about what is the immediate effect, which is, I believe we have July 11th sentencing. That means that presumably within either that day or shortly thereafter, there will be a sentence. If we have full-on felony counts, which again, please in the comments, let me know if all the counts were felony counts, or they may be adjusted at some point in time. That could really impact Donald Trump's ability to move. It could be literally a prison or jail. It could be home confinement. It could be a lot of different things that really will inhibit him from campaigning. And then we're going to have a real problem, because I think we're going to have a writ to the Supreme Court. We're going to have some real issues that need to take place. So I didn't mean to build off of that one little thing, that inference comment, but I do think that it's another ground for error.
Norm, do you have thoughts on that?
I didn't hear it. Yeah, I mean, it struck me as standard charge on circumstantial evidence. You didn't see it rain last night, but when you went to bed, the road was dry. When you woke up, it was wet and there were puddles. You didn't see it rain, but you can infer that it did. That's a reasonable inference. So circumstantial evidence is an inference that is reasonable to draw from direct evidence. You hear no snow on the lawn. You wake up the next morning, there's snow on the lawn, and you see footprints across the lawn. You can infer that someone walked across your lawn even without seeing it. So I may not have heard the example well, but that just struck me as the standard circumstantial evidence charge, and not troublesome. I do agree with Ian. Trump's custodial status and status at the bar is going to be front and center for the U.S. Supreme Court in this most unusual presidential election. I think it's been more than 100 years since we had a presidential candidate locked up while running for office, and that was Eugene Debs, who managed to get, I think, some 10 million votes nonetheless. So who knows? Uncharted territory.
Norm, I want to say, despite the fact that I think you have some views on some of the evidence that was brought in, I mean, what do you think about today, about the fact that we have, regardless of politics for a moment, that we have a presidential administration in power criminally prosecuting over time a president for the United States? I mean, are you shocked? Do you say, okay, well, he was guilty of it, so we'll just have to deal with it as it comes? What's your thoughts on that?
I'm of two minds. I think that to the winner goes the spoils, and prosecutors get to decide whether to make out cases. I thought the Public Integrity Unit of the Justice Department played a more active role policing whether to prosecute candidates, and I'm surprised that they've relaxed their grip on Donald Trump. I'm a defender of the criminal justice system.
I guess we're losing him here.
Yeah, it appears so. Hopefully it comes back.
You might want to mute him right now.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, Eric, what you
picking up my dog. I'll talk later.
Okay.
Eric, you've done so much work. You've seen so much in your life. You've researched so much. What are you thinking right now? And I don't mean to say you're practically a lawyer because you've been around so many of us. But
Bite your tongue, man.
yeah. So sorry.
Don't,
Yeah,
don't,
exactly.
don't accuse me of that.
Yeah, didn't mean to swear at you. Yeah. But what are you thinking? I mean, are you shocked? Is it just business as usual? You've seen so many things. You've seen so many conspiracies and CIA and all these different things. I mean, are you just like business as usual or what?
I'm flabbergasted.
Okay.
Spacey 11 says that I'm guilty. I'm not sure what I'm guilty of, but but okay. No, I truly am flabbergasted about this scenario. But again, I opened with shocking, but not surprising. I madness. The madness from 2020 on has just my whole world's been shaken up in a lot of ways. Like, I never thought that I would be able to directly relate what Germany went through in the 30s and 40s, and how a people could be so coerced into such evilness. But I'm watching it. Yeah. And I just see one thing after another, and I mean, and there's so much confession through projection, and it's just mind blowing. Like everything, you take the Russiagate, and you take what was it, the P tapes or the P file. Well, the funny part about that is that, and I'm not criticizing the person because of addiction, and everybody's going to go into that. But if you swap the name Donald Trump and you put in the name Hunter Biden, you go, oh, okay, that file may be really, you could actually see that file. Yeah. And I just see a whole lot of that. Mm-hmm. You see what's going on, in Brazil, but you have a president who is quite literally going after his main opponent. Yeah. And yes, I know Eugene B. Debs ran, but Eugene B. Debs, the socialist, I believe he was a socialist, is not quite the same thing as the primary candidate, who, by the way, is polling higher than the sitting president. No, there's no smell test there. There's nothing to see there. It's 100% normal. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I wonder what the effect is going to be. In my years as being a prosecutor and being in criminal law and even in civil law time, there's just this brush that gets painted on you when you have, a bankruptcy, when you have a criminal conviction. People are more likely to view you as having done bad on other occasions. I'm thinking about the documents case, the DOJ documents case, the election interference case. And I'm wondering if, how are jurors in those cases ever going to escape this fact that convicted felon is going to appear everywhere? I mean,
it's this new title. But you're right. But that's a great example. You have the documents case, right? Yeah. Did the inspector not, I think it was the inspector or the primary investigator, whoever it was, literally came out and just said that, yes, they would have tried Joe Biden, but he was too addled. Yes. So they weren't going to pick on him. So I'm like, whoa. So it's the same charge. Now, now people are arguing and saying, no, it's really not, because they get really nuanced. You see, they get really nuanced if it's their guy. Yes. But it's the same damn charge. It's mishandling of documents. They're claiming, well, Joe Biden turned him back in when he was asked. And versus, that's the Bill Maher defense versus Trump. But then you could flip it another way and say, well, you know what? He took it as a vice president. He had no freaking right to do it, and he couldn't declassify him like the president could. Yes. So guess what? You're full of shit, people. And agreed. And you have that administration, that Justice Department saying, no, we're not going to try the boss, but we'll try the other guy. Yeah. And then you look at, again, we couldn't be in the courtroom, but you look at some of the evidence that they used. It wasn't like a full-on DOJ investigation where you could actually, highlight attorneys that have been doing this for many years. We're looking at evidence. Basically, the primary evidence is Michael Cohen, who was proven on multiple occasions in the courtroom and outside the courtroom as an outright liar. I mean, he's a confessed perjurer. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Confessed. He has, it's funny because we've had to correct ourselves. Phil Holloway had to correct himself because he's not a convicted perjurer.
Yes.
He's a confessed perjurer.
Yes.
I perjured myself. Okay.
Oh my God.
But then again, he's lied so many times. It's literally a joke. It's like, so were you lying then, or are you lying now? And it's like, well, some of both.
No, I'm lying. I was lying then. I'm not lying now. I mean, just trying to explain the lies. I mean, it was ridiculous.
So then you stole from him. Yes.
Yeah, I did. $30,000.
No kidding. Nunya, yes. This always was about calling him a convicted felon during the election. They know it'll be overturned. How fast do you think the appeal would be? That is my question for you.
Yeah.
I understand that appeals normally can take years, but this would seem to be, if there's ever special circumstances to get this looked at immediately, I mean, this would seem to be it. I mean, the stakes are far greater.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that he's a greater man than anybody or more rights than any other human, but it's for the country's sake, not for his sake.
Yes.
As an individual. That's what I'm trying to say. It's for the people, because we're not talking about Donald Trump. We're talking about the 80 million people or whatever, 78 million or whoever voted for him. They count. And this is a state of emergency. I feel like it needs to be looked into right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's different layers of attacking this judgment. I mean, I think the first step is, understanding the appeal system. And basically, once the notice of judgment is entered, generally, and I'm estimating based upon multiple states' laws, you have 30 days to file the notice of appeal. And there are also a statutory period for filing a response. There has to be some ability for the parties to, file into the record various evidence or evidence from the trial. That takes time. Everything's not done. The transcript's not done. So they has to be certified. So, I mean, even on an expedited basis, I mean, I don't think this could happen shorter than 6 to 9 months. I mean, like, we're talking about it expedited, even if this appeals court gets the idea that this needs to be looked at sooner than later. But that's one level. So that takes us past the election. The next level is, the president's freedom, President Trump's freedom. And that is a totally different attack. That would be a situation where Judge Merchan would issue a sentence, presumably a prison sentence. I mean, my goodness, it could be. And in which case, Donald Trump would then probably file a writ with the next applicable state appeals court, and then that might make it to the Supreme Court for New York, and then that might make it to the U.S. Supreme Court, or it could be passed all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, in which case they can make a decision about whether or not a presidential candidate who's very viable, who, like you said before, has more votes than the incumbent, can be jailed or imprisoned for a period of time during the election or during the candidacy, and then also when he's in office, because presumably this sentence would take place even if he was given 30 days. I mean, we don't know when that's going to happen. The prison has to get ready for him. It's not like they just go, submit, go and put the orange suit on now. It takes some time.
Well, yeah, but because everybody's, a lot of people are going to go, well, what about the Secret Service? Well,
Secret Service
happens to work for somebody else called Homeland Security, who happens to work for who?
I'm sorry, what?
The Secret Service. Who do they work for? Homeland Security. Who do they work for? Biden.
Yes.
So his opponent, again, this is some really scary times we are in, because his opponent could just say, we are removing Secret Service, protection. Well, wait, why are you doing that? These are unprecedented times.
Yeah.
We need to just take that away. We really can't have that. And now I do want to pull up Skunk 5, and because this is a big question too. What was the predicate crime?
Yeah, I love that question.
From what I understand, and you've got to break it down because I am completely lost on this. But what I understand is they're trying to say that he did a misdemeanor.
Correct. Well,
but because the misdemeanor was to help him with his election, we'll call that election fraud.
Yes.
And it's kind of like that RICO shit that's going down in Georgia, where they're looping together these weird little ties and then pumping up a misdemeanor into a felony.
Yeah.
And I'm baffled. How is that possible? It just seems like, and by the way, that's my other complaint. I'll let you have the floor. Believe me.
Sure.
How many effing times are we going to hear the word novel?
Yeah.
Why is it everything dealing with Donald Trump and the law is novel?
Yeah, I know. I absolutely agree. That's what Norm was alluding to, your first point about the predicate crime. He was saying, listen, we don't have much information on what the jury found. I'm sure we'll get it in the next few days. But the bottom line is he was saying, I don't know if that jury instruction, which Judge Merchan gave, which basically says that, you don't have to be unanimous on all the charges in order to find him guilty. He was saying, listen, but maybe you have to have unanimity when it comes to the predicate crime that raises it up to the felony status. So obviously you said it, the predicate crime is an election fraud, obviously covering things up so you can defraud the voters into believing one thing and maybe voting you into office when you wouldn't have been. But again, super stretch in conventional law. That is a big objection for speculation. There's a big causation problem there.
Well, mens rea, right? Don't you have to show the mental intent of doing it?
Well,
and Cohen himself can't even tell it?
Yeah, I don't know if you have to do the mental intent in this situation, but I got to tell you this, that there has to be a direct connection between some action you took illegally, in this case, a misdemeanor, and some sort of larger election fraud. So obviously it could be stuffing ballot boxes. Obviously it could be interfering with election officials. Those are all evidence of that. But this is a situation where, like, listen, I wanted to not reveal a story. So they're alleging I paid money to have it covered up, and somehow that may be a better candidate. Somehow that launched me into office. And frankly, that is a major leap. And that's another ground for appeal. But again, we keep going back to it. Who cares right now? It really, the urgency of the matter is taking place right now. And then the larger understanding of this is, my gosh, we are going to start seeing American officials start prosecuting people that don't have as much power. I'm so sorry. If Donald Trump gets in office, it's not a problem. Even if he is in prison, the 25th Amendment doesn't prohibit it. He could do, so long as he can do the presidential functions in jail, like do Zoom calls and issue pronouncements and sign executive orders, he actually can do it. The only exception might be impeachment, but impeachment generally applies to the time you're in office. You've done something in office that's a high crime and misdemeanor, and therefore the House is going to impeach you. That's not the situation here. This is a situation that took place way back when in time, and so it doesn't appear that he could even be impeached. So this is a weird thing where we could have a situation where the president is in prison and running the country. I'm laughing, but I'm crying inside, just so everybody knows.
Well, yeah, and you're bringing up such a crazy hypothetical, and jail's got a good point too. It's a federal election charge, not a New York jurisdiction, so that's another issue. Yeah. So how anyway, the whole it is a house of cards type of a scenario, and I picked those words literally. It's like Jenga or something. I don't know, but as far as his being locked up, okay, let's say it does happen, and it's just maddening to even consider that.
Yeah.
And he gets elected.
Yeah.
There's no effing way he can run the country from the prison, period. He would I would think he would have to be immediately removed from prison. Now, I don't know if the day he leaves presidency 4 years later, if he would have to go back or something, but I just don't see how constitutionally that could be possible for him to perform the job of the president with all that entails. So are you going to bring the nuke codes to prison?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we kind of envision President Trump, because I think we've seen the memes where he's behind bars and he's in literally general pop. That's probably not the case. If this ever went to a situation where there was real prison, he would be confined in a detention center, of which is as big as a Safeway. I mean, or, some grocery store. There would be a Secret Service, there would be prison guards. It would be a different environment. So so long as he's not doing travel across the world, he actually, in my opinion, could perform the functions of office. But as one of the commenters, and I want to make sure I'm mentioning, said, the whole world is laughing at us, and they absolutely are. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. It should have been stopped way long ago. And I think that, the real prospects that we'd have a judge in prison, as nice a prison as that may be, while running our country, and as 34-time convicted felon. I mean, it's like a clown world.
Well, and also, how stupid are we? Yeah. Don't they understand precedent? Don't you understand? Now, I can't help but think back. Remember in 2010, I believe it was, when they did the quote nuclear option?
Yeah.
They got so tired of having to have that really annoying majority to get in their Supreme Court justice, that to hell with you, we're getting rid of that. It's going to be a simple up and down vote, tough shit. And they've eaten 3 justices since, correct?
Yep.
Because it was the Democrats who made it possible for a 51 vote, or, to get a Supreme Court justice in. So I don't understand the mentality of this. Not only is it, evil, I feel in every way, but it's also short-sighted, because now there's a lot of, are we going to have some charges brought up against Biden in Texas?
Oh, are you kidding me?
Why not?
Are you kidding me?
Let's go.
It's just like a schoolyard right now. I mean, like you said, I really agree with your larger point. Someone needs to be the bigger person in this situation. Someone needs to have more foresight, because you're absolutely right. It's not going to be Donald Trump, because the minute, if Donald Trump gets any power whatsoever, he's going to use that power against the people that put him in prison for sure. I agree with you. We don't have wise leaders in America right now. We have leaders that are either, senile or captive to their policies or their egos. And what we really need to do is have people that have some wisdom here and say, listen, what the heck are we doing right now? Why are we destroying our system right now? And there's no doubt with what we've seen today that our system just got much weaker. Our country's standing is continuing to plummet. And you do know that whoever gets in office is going to continue to use his power. Think about Biden. Biden has been successful using his power to prosecute. Does that mean that he's going to stop now? If he gets back in office, guess what's going to happen? The next person down the line is going to be cut off at the knees. If Trump gets in office, guess what's going to happen? I am going to have revenge for all these people. It's just going to be a schoolyard fight that we see on, the videos on X every day.
Yeah, I think about it. Jeff from Legal Vices he's been living in Korea now for like 35 years.
Yeah.
And according to him, like every president, save like the most recent or something like that, has been locked up by the new party whenever they came in. So is this our new state of affairs? I mean, isn't it Illinois that they keep locking up the governors?
Yes, I believe it's that state. Yes.
So I mean, is that where we are now? So whenever a president steps out of office, they're going to get locked up as soon as possible by the other party.
Yeah.
I mean,
and the thing is, we always talk about immunity, and everyone gets up in arms. We're going to allow a president to murder people. Again, they don't need to, because immunity just applies federally for federal crimes. It doesn't apply for all these state prosecutions. So yeah, these days there's so much global control over countries' leaders, including the United States, that, we just need a various state prosecutions to be able to immobilize our leaders that are getting popular. I think I said this before, we used to worry about cancel culture. Oh, Ian he's not going to be liked by people, and he's going to lose his YouTube channel and all these different things. Boy, that would be sad. Now it's like, oh boy, Ian is going to lose his freedom. Different world right now.
Oh, we already had the president, while he was a sitting president, canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, he got thrown off of X. So you've already got precedent there. And by the way, we have more to fear than our channels alone too. You're right. We fear being locked up, but in lieu of that, I think it's Radix Verum who has been removed from Bank of America. They just shut down all of her accounts. Sorry, we don't like you.
Yep.
You can't bank with us.
Yep.
Hello.
Yep. Yeah, debanked. Yeah, and it's funny. I recently did a post on X about the rules of X itself, because everyone talks about X being a free speech platform, and they are mostly. I mean, as you and I have experienced, they're much better than especially YT right now. But what I got to say is they're not any better. I mean, our private information is being sent to third parties. They have policies against hate speech. They honor, free speech to the extent they can, but the bottom line is there's accounts being shut down all the time. So, yeah, we're moving to this age. I think I'm going to call it the age of persecution. Maybe you and I are not big enough to be a target by DOJ at this time, but we can be a target on social media for our voices. And then the minute we get to a level where we have a larger audience, better be aware of authorities breaking down our doors.
Well, and I hate to tell you, we may not be big enough to be a target, but we could be a perfectly fine example.
Yeah. Yep. You're right.
Let's talk about these moms and pops who decide to go look around the Capitol building and go, shoot, they're getting locked up. It's like they're walking in doing a tour. Yeah. Yes, I know there were people who broke things and locked them up. Fine. Those who were doing property destruction, obviously.
Yep.
But there were literally people that were saying, the doors are open.
Yeah.
Let's go in there. You've seen footage of it. They're literally walking within the ropes. Speaking of banks, it's like the bank ropes are just walking along. Yeah, check it out. Yeah, I don't know, Phyllis. I haven't seen that before.
Yeah.
And it's just, it is ludicrous.
I was going to point to a comment. Michelle says, how long before we find out Mershon promised federal judge appointment? Yeah, I mean, given.
He's done. He's won.
He's done. Yep.
He doesn't have to do anything else. He has fulfilled his role. He is a hero.
He is a
hero to everybody. On his side, do you think he's going to have a bad time in his country club circuit? Hell no.
Absolutely not.
He is the first judge in history. Think about that.
Yeah.
First judge in history to convict a president.
Yes. And his daughter, who's a big time Democratic fundraiser,
works with Pelosi.
She's going to put it on her marketing materials like, my dad, really did it. We're heroes of the Democratic Party.
And it doesn't matter. It could get thrown out tomorrow. An appeal could come down. The Supreme Court could come down and spank it down. It doesn't matter. He got a guilty verdict. And until the end of time. And by the way, you're going to hear convicted felon until the end of time. No matter what. No matter if it's overturned on appeal. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, expunged.
They'll literally say convicted felon. You're just going to hear it.
Yeah. I almost would expect Biden to do a press conference that says mission accomplished behind him, because that's exactly what they don't care about the sentence. They don't care about anything else. They just wanted convicted felon to be in his records. And that they're going to, there's going to be, and that's another thing, Biden just recently agreed to a debate in June. It's just all suspicious timing, right? It's like, yeah, we would love to debate, because all I got to do is mumble convicted felon after every answer and get some applause and get some, some positive press in the mainstream media.
In fairness, I'll push a little bit back on that, because I actually think the debate in June, in my opinion, is necessary for Biden to stay on the ticket. I think that Biden's handlers, because I don't believe he's really in charge. I'm just being honest. I don't believe he is. There's too many signs.
Sure.
I think essentially they're saying, we need your ass to debate before the convention. If you fail in that debate and you don't flip those numbers and you don't flip those polls, and Mark and I have been saying it, Gavin Newsom's coming in.
Yeah.
That's the guy who's been going around campaigning while not campaigning.
Yep.
He is definitely, he'll be inserted.
What do you think about Michelle Obama? You don't think she's got it?
No. It kind of cracks me up that people even say that. I think that is That's actually ludicrous, in my opinion.
Okay.
And the reason is I don't think she wants it, and I don't blame her.
Yeah, I don't either. She could be convicted felon afterwards.
Not just convicted felon, but right now she's America's sweetheart in a lot of ways. I mean, the amount of fawning coverage, and nobody really says anything bad about her. Or, some us YouTubers do this and that, we might say, but we really don't, because she's not a non-factor. She's a former first lady.
Yeah.
So what does it get her? The second she puts her name in there, it all comes out. Yeah. Everybody and everything. You're going to hear Big Mike. You're going to hear this. You're going to hear that. I mean, it's just going to. Why would you want to do that when you could be just sitting there chilling at home,
making so many millions of dollars?
Oh, just all the money in the world, and everybody just saying you're so great. So that'd be crazy.
Yeah. I had a question for you, because you're out there you're on the East Coast, right, Eric?
I am, but I am hours from DC.
Yeah.
I'm on the water, on the coast.
Yeah, you're on the water. Yeah. But what do you think about the reputation for New York after this? Do you think that this besmirches the reputation? I mean, are more people now say, listen, if Trump can be convicted, as a businessman in New York, I've done much worse, and now I can be brought up.
Kevin Leary said it himself specifically. New York's already bleeding people. Last I checked, just like California, aren't you guys bleeding people? Yep, I don't know if you're in California still or not, or
both. Yeah. Arizona and California. Yeah.
See, you're halfway out. You're just trying to finish the job. Pretty soon you'll be like, no, I'm full-time Arizona.
Exactly, for sure. I can't stand the people out there. It's ridiculous.
So there you go. I think it's already been proven. Another place I want to point out that I think people are going to be just flooding out, or they better be, if you run a business in New York. Mm-hmm. And you stay, you're stupid, and you deserve what comes to you. Same thing if you are running a business in Delaware.
Yep.
You're stupid. Yep. Because I'm sidetracking slightly, but look what happened with Elon Musk when you have a freaking judge who says sorry.
Yeah.
You're not going to pay him.
Yeah.
Are you high?
I have a contract, and it was signed to and agreed upon. Oh yeah, sorry, I'm just not going to enforce it.
Yeah, I just don't like that. Yeah, I don't. What kind of precedent is that? I mean, and everybody could go, well, he's got $200 billion. Who gives a shit? It's like, well, you know what? I'm going to go to your boss, and I'm going to say, you know what? No, don't pay Ian.
Yeah,
because you know what? Screw Ian. He doesn't get paid. All of you, just screw you. You don't get paid. I mean, it's ludicrous. So
people don't see that the ramifications. Like, you could argue, right? Elon's never have to worry for money, but the point of it is that when they do something manifestly unfair, that's done there, and it could be done to you. So you like we talked about in the wisdom situation. I mean, we really, as a society, need to understand that these are little microcosms. These are little situations, but have huge ramifications. I mean, I can't even. It's hard for me in this moment, because we just have a little bit of time here to actually come up with everything that's going to happen. But so much is going to happen. State prosecutions of leaders. We're not just talking about the president of the United States. We're going to start seeing mayors. We're going to start seeing city councilmen and supervisors. Whenever there's an issue, all you got to do is go to some billionaire who's funding an NGO, get the money. Put it in the campaign for the local state prosecutor, and boom, we have precedent. This is what we do in America: is we criminally prosecute leaders that we don't like. It's simple. It's in the books. It happened in New York.
Yeah, totally agree. And by the way, I just saw this tweet come up. I'm going to share this partly to plug myself, because I had Chadwick Moore, who wrote the Tucker biography. I just released the episode today, interview on that. If people want to check it out, but I love his reply here to Don Lemon. Breaking: Donald Trump found guilty on all 34 counts. He is now a convicted felon. And Chadwick said, "You misspelled martyr."
I guess that's the good news, if I could even say it today. Right now it is absolutely manifestly clear that there is a marked movement by the elites to terminate, so to speak, President Trump, that you just can't argue it any other way. And you'll see once the appeal courts rule on this case and it's reduced to much less than 34 counts, Maybe we see a situation where the president doesn't get jail time. All this stuff is going to contribute. People are like, oh my gosh. But I got to tell you, the public better wake up. I mean, we with all due respect to people out there, we didn't with the pandemic. We just we took the information. Oh, the government knows what's best for me. We've got to stand up. I got a post when I was on the air here, and the guy was saying, listen, Ian, that's horrible that this happened, but now use your platform to stand up and speak out against it. And so I will. I'm ready to go. I've lived 50 years on this planet, and I'm very grateful for that. At this stage in time, I just want to make our country better for my kids and your kids and everybody's kids. So I'm going to, but we all have to. We can't be like that girl who, let the woman drown in the lake or whatever that video that was out.
She not only let her, she just encouraged her, for God's sake. She's
her.
like, oh,
No.
look at that. Look at dummy who can't swim.
Yes, let's take responsibility and all just speak out, not just on X. But what I'm saying is on all social media channels, on in meetings with them you're in, do not be afraid to reveal your beliefs, to be vulnerable and say, I believe this is wrong. If we all just did that, or a lot of us did that, we could reverse this course. But if we all just, oh my gosh, that's really crazy what happened to Donald Trump, and then go back to our video game, it's just going to happen to us. I'm so sorry. It's just going to happen to us.
I actually would say, and this is what's really troubling to me, is we are seeing something that's highly visible. But all I can think is that this is SOP. This shit's going on all the time.
Yeah.
This is going on. When you say this could happen to us, I would argue no. I think this is happening to us. I think that if we were to really peel back the curtain even more, I think that you're going to find that it's just happening all over the place. I mean, this manufacturing of charges, because that's literally what it is this manufacturing. I'm sorry.
Yes.
And Steve, I'd love to have you come in. I've sent you a link if you have a minute. We definitely could love to hear from you. But yeah, this is a special case. I don't even know if it's a special case. I just think it's the most visible special case.
Yeah.
And, like, what is it? 3 felonies a day. We're always at risk.
Yeah.
We're always.
Yeah, I know. And I think you believe this too. I mean, we founded this republic way back when in the 1700s as a shining example of what a free and exploration related citizenry could be. When we're compared to other countries, it's not good enough. We're special. We're supposed to be leaders, not just in military stuff and maybe education and things like that. We're supposed to be the wise people out there in the world, guiding the world and saying, you know what, we can look up to America, not because we want to be looked up to, but just because they do it right, or they do it mostly right. And we're getting to that stage right now with a huge deficit and with lots of being involved in different wars that don't involve us. And then, of course, having this, I hate to say it, but kangaroo court type situation where we're not an example anymore. And that really takes down the
we're becoming an example, all right.
Yeah. Well, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's sad when Putin can laugh at us.
Oh, he must be. I mean, he's in a mess himself right now, but he's probably looking at us as better than over there. I mean,
he's just like, oh, you accuse me. I mean, everybody's saying that. All the countries are saying that. And I'm a little bit embarrassed. That's part of what I was trying to say earlier too. Is aren't you embarrassed to be an American right now?
Yeah. Yeah, I really am. I think that I believed in, even if I disagree with people politically, I believed in their ultimate wisdom. I believe in the fact that it took something to get to where they're at. And I also believe, having worked for DOJ myself, I believed that there was an ethics. I certainly had an ethics. I was not looking to prosecute every single case that came to me so I could have a good record. I was taking it seriously and seeing, what is the evidence? What is fair? Sometimes I dismissed. Sometimes we made special plea deals and the person got off because I knew that fairness was the key. But we're not seeing that right now. We're seeing, basically bias control as opposed to fairness. So everyone, I just implore you out there, just take a look at your kids and think about how you conduct your house. Things are fair. This person gets 2 slices of pizza and this person gets 2 slices of pizza. That's the way it should be in America. We should be fair. We can disagree. We can talk about it. We can really not like each other. But the bottom line is we do have to understand that there's a higher goal to America as opposed to a lot of other countries. A lot of other countries just, they just live their lives. They have the wine and they hopefully they're going to have a good life, but they don't care about the actual citizenry. We do. We're different. And so that's why this is frustrating me, because that's another knock on our block. And I hate it.
Yeah. Welcome to the third world.
Yeah. Goat rodeo. Oh my God. I keep laughing and then feeling guilty about it, because this is a sad day. And it almost comes off as I'm being pessimistic when I have some humor, but I'm only laughing because I'm so kind of nervous and anxiety ridden about this. I don't know what's going to happen. My first thought when the Trump verdict came down was to give my wife a call and say, listen, hopefully you got everything battened down, because I don't know about protests. I don't know about what's happening right now. If the NGOs are seeding protesters on both sides to create
make sure you have some cash on hand. I mean, I hate to, not the Fonnie Willis style, folks, but I'm saying while cash is still legal, because that's the one thing, you notice all these little moves, because that's another thing. You'll see they're going after cash.
Yes, they are. Cashless stadiums, cashless. It's been a while since I purchased groceries without double clicking my phone. Yeah, it's coming.
Oh, I get one further.
Why
am I take the whole phone out, dude? It's almost like you're not even paying for it, but it is sad.
Yeah,
but
that's what's leading.
But you see these things moving. It's like, oh no, we want a government controlled Bitcoin and things like that. So it's. I recommend it, and I did want to read this out loud, though. It's the epitome of clown world. It's outrageous. Trump better win the election. I will tell you what I always try to say that things have been worse before. And as an example, I don't know, Ian, if you've read a lot of history. I mean, I was alive at the time, but I was an infant, so whatever. But in the 1970s, early 70s, you had, I think it was over 2,000 bombs going off in a year. With people like the Weather Underground, by the way, who worked with Bill Ayers, Bernadette Dorn, who are hanging out on the college campuses right now, by the way, those scumbags. But it was that bad. We were actually bombing it throughout the country and things of that sort. And that led to Nixon, which calmed things down a bit. Then it spun even further out of control with Carter, who was completely lost. And then it flipped with Reagan. So it can change. And where I'm going with it is when he said, Trump better win. Well, everybody here do your part. Because one of the reasons I think it changed so drastically is that Reagan won pretty cleanly. And then Reagan won by a major landslide for his reelection. And if this causes Trump to win by a major landslide, let's just say, as Richard Barris of People's Pundit likes to say, let's just make sure that he wins outside the, quote, margin of fraud. I love his term there, margin of fraud. If you know what I'm saying, because we're on YouTube. So if he was to win by a landslide, then that would mean this is all blowing up in their faces. They could lose Congress completely, major seats, everything else. I think that would cause them to have to go back to the wilderness and go make up for it. So
I mean, I'm one of those bright side guys, and your comments have kind of caused me to think that there is a bright side here. We previously had a couple divisions in the Republican Party. You could argue that there's the neocons, and then there's the anti-war people, and then of course with our issue concerning Israel, and that I'm not going to mention words for fear of being limited here
Sure.
on the platform. But we had divisions, and with this could polarize at least the middle / conservative together. We could have independents, we could have libertarians jumping on board and saying, let's all unite here, because it's one thing to oppose certain military operations, but it's another thing in our home country to prosecute candidates who have a really chance at winning. And we don't want to devolve into a country like that. So listen, I mean, I'm never opposed to looking at the bright side of things. And we, the tweet you brought up, or the post you brought up where, martyr, absolutely. This could be something that maybe helps us, and in which case we can move on. I mean, I think you're exactly right. And throughout history, we've had certainly much worse times, or at least we've had more acute times. Like I was thinking about the Cuban Missile Crisis. I mean, we're really like, holy mackerel, we could have millions dead. It could be a real big deal. You could argue pandemic, whatever. But so this is not an acute situation. This is just a further devolving of our country, of our democracy. And actually, in some ways, it's worse because it really is setting precedent. But the point of it is that, yes, we could get in, Vivek or someone like that who could just walk in and just have some reasonableness in 2028 and maybe change things. But this is a wake-up call for all of us, Democrats included. This is a situation where we now have a proven, we criminally prosecute people you don't agree with. And if it's not you now in 2024, it's probably going to be you in 2028 or 2032 or whatever. So we really better put a stop to this soon. Otherwise, we're not going to have a government to criminally prosecute.
Yeah, and can I point this out too to everybody? Trump can be vulgar. Trump can be an ass. Trump can be a complete nightmare.
Yes.
But Trump didn't do this shit.
Yeah.
We have almost 4 years of administration here, and we have Trump's administration. And again, we have a confession through projection all the time. Like everybody's saying that he'll not leave the White House. He won't leave.
Yeah.
Is he there now?
No.
Well, how is he not there now if he wouldn't leave?
Yeah.
So a lot of this stuff, was Trump prosecuting Hillary? No.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, Trump said, you should go to jail. You should be locked up. But did he do a thing? No. He didn't do it. Moved on, on down the line. So in your conscience, if you can't vote for Trump, okay, I get it. Do me a favor, stay home.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
Because please tell me you cannot vote for a person who is going to run an administration that is trying to lock up his opponent by not winning at the ballot box here, but literally using the power of the government to freeze out and lock up their opponents. If you can in good conscience vote for that, I'm very frightened for you. Yeah. And as far as all of you are saying, hey, Bobby Kennedy, love Bobby Kennedy. Can Bobby Kennedy wait till 2028 because we got a bit of an emergency here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's be honest. This is troubling. Yeah. And again, I get it if you hate Trump. Mm-hmm. I get it. Fine. Mm-hmm. But please really deeply consider if you can affirmatively vote for somebody who is taking these actions right now. And you can't say, well, it's not him doing it. It's the Justice Department. No. He could shut it down now.
He could. Absolutely.
He could put the pressure on the state now. Yep. This is rubbish. There's definitely coordination going on. We know that, and I'm over it. Dog boy, I'm sure. I know a lot of FBI people, and I do know, I'm not going to name who, but I have heard from some that they're ashamed. Yeah. They were proud to serve in the FBI, and they're ashamed of it. And don't blame the Dems for this. Whatever. I don't wish to blame anybody, and I'm not ordering anybody to do anything. I am just asking everybody to please seriously consider. I don't think I'm being unreasonable saying, please consider what you are actually voting for. And if you hate Trump and you could never vote for Trump, I understand, but please consider then just not voting. And don't, I hate to say, and if you do, let's say, vote for Bobby Kennedy because you're saying, well, I can't vote for either of them, you may in fact be voting for Biden.
Yeah. Yeah. And
in a sense.
Yeah. And, there's lots of ways to, there are different hierarchy of importance on issues. And I think that I think pretty much all Americans can agree that it's unfair to prosecute when there isn't admissible evidence to convict our leaders who are running to be our leaders. And I think that even if you don't like Donald Trump, we all need to be against unfairness. And there's lots of things you can not vote for Trump, but you can also be against Biden and the Biden administration. Do you want 4 more years of this? Because like everyone says, it's not Biden. Biden's probably asleep right now. I wonder if he even knows that this is happening. But the point of it is that his administration does, and his administration made this happen. And it will continue to do it. I mean, like I said, it's precedent, right? And now and we're all potential victims. I was thinking about the IRS. Hopefully, we all pay taxes. And it'd be very easy to bring any case they wanted against any one of us who pays taxes for some allegation. Because, the point of it is that it doesn't matter if they get conviction. If the DOJ gives you a call on the phone and says, listen, we're concerned about your taxes, that is a life-ruining call. That's a situation where you've got to hire lawyers to defend. And
sure.
Gosh darn it, even after 2 years, you proved you're right, but you have no more money because you spent it all on the lawyers. So it is an attack on all of us. And like I said, you don't have to like President Trump, but I think you have to not like the Biden administration.
No, I'd hope not. Yeah. It's like, and if you do, then here we go. I think we've got, let me see.
Ooh, yeah, look at
Get
this.
over yourselves. So pathetic you have to put on a wine show on YouTube, a conviction that has nothing to do with you. No, I disagree. It has to do with all of us, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
It has to do with all of us because you have the precedent. But, thank you very much for your contribution to the conversation. But on that note, Ian, thank you very much for coming by and joining me. Hold on. Oh, well, thank you, Steve, very much. Very, very, very much. And
yeah, thanks, Steve. We appreciate it. We'll see you probably tomorrow. We're going on live tomorrow, or
tomorrow at noon Eastern. Sorry, I got to say the time zone. Legal Friday. Ian, to his credit, is like, hey, why aren't we going on now? It's like, oh, you know what? Okay, you're right. We probably should go on now.
It's that important. Yeah.
And it's some crazy times right now. With everything that's going on here, we've got things going on in the YouTube law too community, unfortunately, which
yes, we do.
I'm hoping that this is going to overshadow that, because I don't feel like that the fighting amongst a law tube itself is helpful. So, but we do the show every Friday. We try to have fun. I will admit that this is not a fun subject. I'm a little more angry than normal. I'm normally, kind of more like, oh, okay, that's funny, that's cool, or might not be quite as laid back tomorrow.
Yeah,
but
I think it's going to be stiff back Friday. It's just want to remind everybody it's 12 p.m. Eastern, but it's 9 a.m. Pacific. And I think that we're going to talk about a variety of topics. And what's really, I think, going to be exciting about the show tomorrow is we're going to get the perspectives, I think, of a lot of different lawyers, and we're also going to be able to answer your legal questions. So if you guys, we can't address them today because we're all working and we have things to do. But if you have questions tomorrow, come tomorrow and put them in the comments, because we're going to have Nate and Joe and all the people that you love probably having a lot to say about what happened today.
That's my hope. I don't know. I am putting out the call. Anymore. I don't even know who's going to come on. But you see, by the way, Gutty Bruin, guys, one more point. You're truly shocked by it. All deference. Yeah. Yes, the anti-Trump people don't realize that it can happen to them, and not only the anti-Trump people. I will say, and I mean it affectionately, the normies. Yeah. Because some of this is, you've got to get through to the normies, the people who understandably work all the time, and they don't have time to really follow this stuff.
True.
And that whatever they're told on the network news, they just assume is real.
Yep.
I understand that. So, please help to them.
I understand that too, but this is different. This is not what we see on the daily news on it. This is a situation that drastically affects the way our country works. And it's important for you to voice if you believe that there's unfairness, which I believe a lot of us do.
Yeah. And just tell the people tell the people around you.
Yeah.
And share. But hopefully we'll see everybody tomorrow right here on this channel for normal programming. And I definitely would appreciate any comments that you have. If you're watching this on the replay, please comment below. We'll definitely look at it, and that might help us start some of the conversation tomorrow as well.
Yeah, and please share this and repost it on X. We want to get the word out about our discussion. I think
hopefully Danny will be here tomorrow too.
Yes,
I hope.
Awesome. With Danny, it's like she has to be at 2 a.m. So that's going to be an awesome.
I hope so. Danny, be with us tomorrow. Be with us, because I know you have something to say. All right, Steve, awesome. All tomorrow's going to be fantastic. Good. I'm already getting answers from some of the people tomorrow. So Ian, Steve, hopefully Danny. Don't know. Hopefully Nate. Nate's been moving. I've got the call out to Viva. Hopefully Viva Fry will be on here. But tomorrow it's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
I promise.
You don't want to miss tomorrow for sure.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic evening.